Hey everybody, welcome to this live training. I'm always doing these impromptu, but I wanted to hop on today to talk about the trust recession. And I wanted to do an interesting little thought experiment. And so my thought experiment is I'm actually just going to talk, this is a message to myself about 7 years ago. Maybe about 7 years ago. So I'm talking, or even 12 years ago when when I was in the beginning part of my business. And so when I was in the beginning part of my business back in 2008, for those of you who don't know, in 2008 in the United States, there was a huge economic crisis. It was basically our modern day kind of depression. It was pretty bad. And there were people living in tents all over the country. And that was when the big, huge stock collapse happened. And there was a lot of corruption in the United States government. And so that's actually when I started my online business. And so I don't know if you can imagine what kind of things people around me were telling me when I started my online business during one of the most intense financial economic collapses in my country's history, at least in my generation. Everybody was telling me it was a really bad time to start a business. Everybody was telling me also that it's going to be so hard to thrive in this economy, and this is not a time to start your business. Almost everybody except for my ex-partner was trying to talk me out of starting a business. And I'm just going to pop really quick what I did in return to, I'm going to pop it on the screen. What I did when people were telling me to not start my online business. Here's what I did. I did it anyway. So I went ahead and I started posting on YouTube, and I did it anyway. And just to fast forward a little bit, here's what happened. During that terrible financial economic meltdown in 2008, when I first started my business, was I rolling in the dough right away? No. Was my business a smash hit right away? No. But here's what did happen. After about 3 weeks, I got my first sale. After not so long after that first sale, I had my first couple $1,000 like months, which is major for anybody who's starting your business. Anybody who has a business and you remember that first dollar that you made, it's like, hallelujah. You remember the first couple thousand. Many of us business owners, we don't realize, how we forget how massive it is that we as business owners are able to create money with our ideas. It's like so major. Like just a little side note, everybody here on my channel, most of the people who follow me on my channel are business owners to some form or another. If you've ever generated a couple hundred or a couple thousand or a couple 100,000 or 7 figures with your ideas, that is so major. Let's not forget that. But anyway, back to the story. So by the end of the first year, I made my ebook was donation based. And at the end of that first year, I hit 5 figures. And then a business mentor of mine told me, you're probably going to have to charge a price for it if you want to like make this a real business. And I freaked out, but long story short, I charged that $27 for that little ebook. And that was when I hit my first 6 figures in my business. And that's despite one more time, I'm going to pop it on the screen. 2008, 2009, a terrible, quote unquote, a terrible time to start a business. You're not going to succeed. There was all kinds of doom and gloom in the news. There was all kinds of terrible doom and gloom happening in the economy, all kinds of bad things happening to other business owners. And I tarried on and I didn't listen. And thank God that I didn't take anybody else's advice except listening to my own inner guidance system and making the choice that I was going to start a business. So today's episode, today's training, I wanted to really give a course correct kind of refresh for the business owners who tune into my channel during this quote unquote trust recession that's happening in online business and all the major changes with AI and all that stuff. AI is a whole other can of worms, and I might talk a little bit about AI today. And I probably will end up talking about AI, but the core of what I wanted to talk about today are the practical, tangible things that we as business owners can do to thrive in this trust recession. And I wanted to start off by saying there's not actually a trust recession happening. So a lot of people are throwing this term around: trust recession, this, trust recession that, trust recession this. Oh, it's a trust recession economy on the internet and all this stuff. I just simply find that to be ridiculous. It's silly. It's not trust recession. It's a change in buyer behavior, just like it was in 2008. There was a huge economic crisis in 2008, but also the way people were buying things was changing in a major way. And that's happening right now. So there's not actually a trust recession. Here's what's happening in online business. There's something called the sunrise era. I've mentioned this many times, but I'm going to just reiterate to help everybody who follows me on my channel. The whole purpose of why I'm here is to help you to get rich inside and out. And so there's not a trust recession. It's a sunrise era. This is actually a brand new era of business, and there's never ever been a better time in the history of my lifetime to do online business than right now. And yes, things have definitely changed, which I'll talk about. I'm going to get to the practicals, but the mindset shift I want to just offer is, here's what I've learned from all the mentors that I've worked with, is your filter, the way that you choose to see the thing, is exactly the results that you can expect to get. So the mindset stuff is so important with online business. So if everybody and their mom has normalized going to McDonald's and getting a Big Mac for lunch, does that mean that we have to eat the Big Mac? No. So I've refused to eat any of those Big Macs in the past, since 2008, basically since I was 16 years old. I refuse to eat the goddamn Big Macs. Let everybody else eat the Big Macs, meaning let everyone else talk about the trust recession happening. Let everyone else do the doom and gloom talk. Let everyone else complain about everything that's happening on the planet. And we focus on changing the way that we're kind of framing the whole thing. So my frame on this whole thing is it's a sunrise era, and the sunrise era being now's an opportunity to shake the Etch-a-Sketch, to rethink how you create your business. I'm going to talk about specific offerings in a second. So when everybody is talking about how things are going to hell in a handbasket, like they did back in 2008, when I said, I'm going to write an ebook, and everyone's like, who's going to buy an ebook? Literally every single person that I said, except for my ex, was like, who's going to buy an ebook? All the personal trainers that I worked with at my gym, when I would be like, I can't go out, I never went out. And they were like, what? Brenda's working on some business, some business scheme, some ebook. She's calling it an ebook. Ebooks were not really a thing back then. And so I was working on my ebook. And while everyone else was kind of poo-pooing the whole thing and saying how crazy it is, it's not going to work and all that stuff, I was, working my ass off getting it done so that I could actually build my business up. And so same as today, while everyone else is kind of decrying, the possibility of thriving with an online business or online education business or whatever, I'm telling you that we can actually change our mindset, shake the Etch-a-Sketch and say, how can I think way bigger here? So whenever your business isn't working, by the way, it's actually not, that is not a call to participate in the eating of the Big Macs. That's actually a call for you to rise to the occasion and ask better questions. And the questions that I asked to triple my revenue over the past couple of years is, what's actually needed? What's being called for here? What actually can I offer that would really transform the people that I'm called to serve? And so that's how we come up with the better answers. So what I mean by sunrise era, I mean that the divine beloved, the universe, and the market and your business, whenever things aren't quite working the way that you hope that they would be working, it's actually a doorway opening up for a bigger and better version of you to come through. It's a doorway to open up to different offerings, different experiences, different ways of thinking about your business, getting rid of the fat and trimming off a non-essential tasks that might be wasting your time and stressing you out, that aren't working. Okay. So how I've tripled my revenue, and I put in the title a step-by-step process. I'm actually going to break that down for you now so that you too can thrive in the sunrise era of online business. So just to reiterate, the sunrise era of online business is, this is a sanity. This is an awakening. There's been an awakening in humanity. We've all awakened at a level that is so much higher than other humans before us because we've had access to this wealth of knowledge that is unheard of. So you and I have been able to, at our fingertips, have access to all these copious kind of well springs of inspiration, spiritual teachings from some of the greatest sages throughout history. And so we have awakened. And so we're all thinking at a much higher level. We're all at a much higher level of consciousness. And this much higher level of consciousness, it's actually calling for all of us business owners to rise to a much higher level of service and giving and what we're offering and how we show up to the market. That's what the sunrise era is. So it's the divine beloved saying, yeah, what used to work back in 2016 probably isn't going to work as good. I probably couldn't have a 6-figure year from just a $27 ebook, though. Who knows? I wouldn't say never say never. It's just not what really like calls to me right now. Okay, so let me talk about the practical steps for how I tripled my revenue over the past couple of years and how you can apply some of these things to your business. So the number one thing that I wanted to just reiterate is we don't eat the Big Macs. We don't eat the Big Macs, meaning we don't complain. There's an awful lot of complaining happening in the world right now. And I know this sounds very, very, very fluffy. But this is actually something most of us leaders and teachers know up here, but some of us are losing touch with it in the practical and tangible application of it. So if you're at all finding yourself complaining or basically that kind of wallowing or the woe is me or whatever, it's so common nowadays. I understand that we have our preferences and there are certain things that we would love to have different. Like, metaphorically speaking, is there dog poop on the sidewalk? Sure. Sure. There are things happening in the world that we would rather not happen, but let's actually focus on what we can have an impact on. So that's number one. If you want to thrive in this trust recession era and you want to actually move into the sunrise era, really focusing your mind on raising your vibration. And that, I don't really love that term, raise your vibration, but I mean, in a practical application, raising your frequency by thinking, by not entertaining the terrible habit of complaining and commiserating. Really don't commiserate. Okay, so that's the mindsets, some of the mindset stuff. I'm sure there's more of that to come. But let me give you one of the major ways that I think teachers and leaders are being called to kind of serve. And that's really showing up and doing the things that make your heart sing. And those things that make your heart sing are probably going to be the things that create a huge transformation for your people. So one of those things that I really enjoy in my business that has really helped to grow my revenue is live events. Live events has been major. Now, it's not going to work if you don't love live events, but you might not have ever done a live event. So you might not even know. And just to give you a quick heads up, I actually was really scared to do live events. And I never actually did a live event until a couple years ago. And a couple years ago, I got the insight, what would really probably be something people love, especially after COVID and being in lockdown and all that stuff. I bet you people love to have a live experience. And it proved to be one of the most epic, fun, amazing kind of add-ons to my business. And I have something called the YouTube Breakthrough Challenge. I also have multiple kind of live events. And I'm going to encourage you to explore something like that for your own business. Exploring live events. Where can you kind of stretch yourself? I'm going to offer just another quick little tip. Quick little tip is thinking about, is there a way that you could offer perhaps an in-person experience? Those are actually, from what I've heard in the grapevine, I don't do live in-person experiences yet, though I'm not opposed to it, but I've heard great things about in-person experiences. But on a practical level, like the most practical level, live events, meaning challenges, meaning boot camps, meaning webinars, all of that stuff, those for me have worked marvelously because they deliver a transformation in real time. So those are great. And there's actually a lot to learn about how to host a live event and all that stuff. And I know that that it feels like a steep learning curve, but here's the truth. When you step into the sunrise era, kind of, you open your heart to your work, so much of it becomes like a fun adventure instead of something that you're like scared of. So I'm just going to invite you to just start with a 1 hour live event and then see what happens with that. And then maybe a 3-hour workshop and then see what happens with that. And then maybe a multi-day kind of challenge or boot camp and see what happens with that. I think that could be a really nice way for you to like stretch and learn and grow, and stretch and learn and grow and stretch and learn and grow. The more that you do that, the more your revenue compounds as well. The next thing that really works, or that's been really working well for me these past couple years, and that's that I found to be really great for most business owners that I've encountered and that I worked with, is to think outside the box with your offerings and to actually go really high with your offerings. I'm not just talking about the prices. I'm talking about the experience. Like, what kind of special touches can you add to your offers? What kind of unique little things can you provide to your customers? So I'm going to give a couple examples. Like, for example, is there a way for you to send some kind of a thank you card or some kind of a little care package to your clients and customers? When they first sign up with you, could you get their address that you can send them something nice, even a nice little thank you card? It really does make a huge difference to have those little special touches that really stand out. And that's something that most business owners aren't really doing. That's something that if we take a look at the kind of majority of business owners, the way they run their business, it's very me-centered. It's very like I. It's very they're wanting to succeed so badly. So many people are so self-absorbed with their business that if you are in the top like 5% of people who run a business and turn the light of your consciousness onto your people and just do something as simple as send a thank you card, you'll be shocked at how much of a transformation that does for your business. Another really important thing that I did to triple my revenue in the past couple years and to thrive in this trust recession is to go all in on YouTube. And I've been all in on YouTube for many years. That's no surprise. And I do teach about YouTube here on this channel. And I want to just reiterate that right now, more than ever, there's a reason that I only have one post on Instagram. There's a reason that I don't post to Instagram. And look, if I felt that Instagram worked in terms of if it was a reliably profitable, not waste of my time, I would be posting to that platform. I've gone on and on about Instagram, and I'm not going to bore you with, we're not going to beat a dead horse today, but I do want to just speak frankly, if I could, and say there's no shortage of people posting to Instagram because it's like, it seems easier. It seems a bit easier to post to Instagram. Each individual post on Instagram, it's a very low effort. It seems very low effort, but if you take a look at it, it's actually a lot more effort with a lot less of a return on your investment. The click-through rates are terrible, as I mentioned in the last stream. The click-through rates are terrible. The conversion rates are terrible. The overall quality of the content on the platform is terrible. You're intermingling your beautiful filet mignon with other people's Skittles and, Milky Way bars or whatever. And it just doesn't make for a really great place to promote our business. So I'm inviting my whole audience to go all in on YouTube and create a YouTube channel that really sets your heart on fire. I want to pop my own YouTube channel back on the screen to just go into kind of how this works. And I understand that most people get how this works, but if I could just pop it on the screen of how this works really. When I'm posting to YouTube, I'm posting things that I'm actually super passionate about and that I'm actually an expert in. So you're never going to see anything on my channel that I'm not well versed in and that I don't have direct experiential knowing of. That's like kind of the whole point. And what this does is, if you could take a side-by-side of how, for instance, would I take something, let's just take one of these videos, this one that has 10,000 views, or this one that has 481,000 views. This video that got 481,000 views about how to speak in YouTube videos. Inside of this one video that was 481,000 views, that video got me, that inside of that video, I had an invitation to one of my live events. This is just an example of why I go with YouTube. The click-through rate on that particular video was sky high. And like all my events, that one sold out. We were at full capacity. And I'm not saying any of this to brag. I'm saying this because, look, you guys are on the call with me. I'm a human being just like you. I'm not special. Nobody's special. Everybody's special. And if we just think about this with a common sense kind of lens, you can clearly see that if I did that same video of how to speak in YouTube videos on Instagram, and or how to speak, if I did a how to speak effectively on Instagram, and it was like a 20-second clip with an invitation and a comment, yada yada, and the blah blah blah, and the many chat game and all that tap dancey stuff, it just wouldn't have done nearly anything. It wouldn't have yielded much of any fruit. And so I'm not saying you can never post on Instagram. I'm just saying, why not pour your whole heart into creating a little television show here on YouTube, which is kind of how I approach it. So, how I approach the whole YouTube thing is I think about this like one little awesome public access television show that I'm really focused on delivering the highest quality videos to my audience so that they actually understand that I know what I'm talking about. And this goes back to 15 years, over the past 15 years, it's been the same MO, no matter what kind of business model or what I'm offering. What we do on our YouTube channel kind of overlaps directly with what we're doing in our business. And so my YouTube channel helps me to convey my filet mignon to my people. And it helps me to also attract the highest quality people into my business. So if you want to thrive in 2026 and beyond, and you want to get into the sunrise era instead of the trust recession, you'll notice that a lot of the people that are struggling or talking about struggling in the trust recession and all this stuff, those are the creators who might be posting an awful lot to Instagram, and all love to everybody who's doing their life's work. But if you're posting to Instagram right now and it's not yielding the highest quality of fruit, I want to just invite you to just run an experiment and try creating epic videos for your YouTube channel. I'm going to be talking about systems in a later video. I am actually going to be filming, and just as an aside, this is like the secret. I'm going to pop this up on the screen. This is a secret inside scoop, but here's what I want to invite you to do also. So here's a little kind of preview. And this is how I literally map out my YouTube channel. I do a lot of journaling every morning for the past 16 years. And so we've got season 1 of Deep Riches. I've done 2 complete episodes so far. And so I'm calling it season 1 of the Deep Riches show, even though the Deep Riches has been a podcast that I've had off YouTube for a while, but I'm going to be filming some videos. And so what I want you to do, what I'm going to invite you to do, is I want you to draw a bunch of squares on a piece of paper, and I want you to map out your primetime television show. This is what I've done since the beginning. And so that gives you some kind of creative direction. And then with that creative direction, it also helps to inform your offerings. So some people come to me and they're business owners who have customers and clients in real life and even maybe online, but they're ready to start a brand new era of their business and they want to really grow it. And that does require some clarity, and it requires some devotion, and it requires some setting aside of some time to get really clear on what is the creative direction of your business? What is the creative direction of your channel? What is the creative direction of your offerings? All of that must be in service of the person. So, going to the next kind of point of the way that I tripled my revenue the past couple of years is by really, really getting intentional, as I tend to always be intentional. But there was actually a video here where you can actually watch it. I'm going to pop it right here on the screen, right here, where it said how to overcome fear and be in awe of yourself. In that video, I literally announced, I'm going to be taking a shift. I got really intentional with the direction of my channel. I was in a kind of playing around mode right here. I was kind of in between. I still had I had a spiritual community here that was doing pretty well, but it really wasn't feeling like it wasn't clicking. And I wanted to be talking about business, but I was thinking, who's going to listen to the Lean Secrets chick talking about business? Who wants to hear about business from me? Who wants to hear about self development from me? Really, every single time I've ever had a pivot, I was always, it always comes with plenty of self doubt. But I finally came to the realization, I'm passionate about the creative process. I'm passionate about prosperity. I'm very passionate about helping other people with prosperity. And while I was in my spiritual community and I was leading this spiritual community, and everybody kept coming to the group with the same thing over and over again, asking me business advice, and I love talking about it. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to kind of fuse all of this together, and I'm taking a whole new direction. So I posted about that on my channel. And then once I started posting about what I'm very intentionally kind of offering here the past 2 years, I made it a devotion. So I got really clear about my choice. And this is something that's so sorely needed in today's trust recession era. Part of the reason people can't trust most business owners is because most business owners are not clearly devoted to a path in their own business. And this is speaking from somebody who's been a business owner for 16 years. And I have plenty of times in my business where I wasn't exactly sure what I was doing. And I can always track the revenue with my lack of clarity or clarity. So the more clarity you have, the more devotion you have in your business, the more your revenue line goes like this. The less clarity you have in your business, the less clarity you have in your life, the less clarity you have inside of here, and the less clarity you bring with all of the output that you're putting into your business, your offerings, your YouTube channel, like all of it, the less your income, your revenue, your profits, all of that stuff starts to dip down. So more clarity, more revenue. More clarity, more revenue. This isn't conceptual. This is actually a practice. So this is a call for, there's lots of thumbnails out there that are like, I'm begging you to blah, blah, blah. I'm begging you to insert whatever. And I'm begging you towards the end of this training, I'm begging you to get devoted to one solid core transformation that you're delivering to your people. And not just arbitrarily like picking one, but really sitting down, getting very clear about it. What I really like to do is I like to pick a nice hotel somewhere. And if I'm ever in a transition period in my business where I'm not sure about something, I'll pick a nice hotel somewhere and I'll book like 2 nights, and I will not let myself touch any electronic devices, and I will write my ass off until I'm really clear. So you get really clear about what you're doing here, get really devoted, and really pick a lane. And then you start pouring your heart into what you're putting out into the world and make it super crystal clear. That's something, like, once again, I said it just a second ago, but I can't repeat it enough. Part of this trust recession era is coming from the fact there's no shortage of business owners out there who have no idea what they're really doing in terms of they're not really picking, they're kind of fence riding. So if you get really clear about what you're offering and you're offering something people really want, they're going to buy it. And you won't get to that clarity point until you really devote yourself to getting clear about it. And then once you're clear about it, you're going to start writing and creating and offering and getting the thing in front of those people. If I could just take a minute just to kind of illustrate this, the only 2 things we really need to have a profitable business is, number 1, we need the offer, which is, you can just consider this circle like a good offer that people actually want. This means solving a felt problem that people actually feel they have, and then getting that thing in front of the right people. And this is where YouTube comes in. Okay, so this is my preferred method. It's not the only method, but it's my preferred method, is create things that solve problems that people feel that they have, and then get it in front of the right people. And I like doing that with the number 1 media platform on the whole world, and that's YouTube, with really good videos. Pouring your heart into your videos and not putting AI. If I could just do a lightning round, I'm going to close this session with a quick lightning round of YouTube tips to not do. Okay. I have a whole bunch of training inside my accelerator at brendaturner.com/money, but I also have a whole bunch of, how to get started. If you want to just get started, you can take my launch pad, which I'll tell you about in a second. But let's just go through a rapid fire of things to not do on YouTube. Please don't do these things on YouTube. Part of the reason there's a trust recession, it's not so much that there's a trust recession as much as there's just little tiny mistakes that people are making. They don't even realize, and these mistakes pile on one on top of the other. So let me just offer some quick mistakes to avoid on YouTube. Please don't use AI for your thumbnails. Nobody's clicking those. And there might be some rare exceptions out there, but by and large, nobody wants to click the AI thumbnails. I had a creator in my last live stream just spewing all kinds of venom at me, saying that YouTube had shadow banned her and that I'm a dirty liar and all this stuff. And I clicked on her channel to see what was going on. And her channel was just filled with the most hideous AI thumbnails ever. So people don't want to click on AI thumbnails. Please don't use AI for your thumbnails. If anything, hire a graphic designer for $50 to just help you a little bit and create some thumbnail kind of templates for you. Okay. So no AI thumbnails. Tip number 2, to not do, please avoid fancy kind of, we'll call it the fancy headlines. We're going to avoid the fancy headlines. And what I mean by fancy, people try to be clever. People try to be fancy. We don't want to be clever or fancy with your headlines. I want you to go with the most boring and clear headline you possibly can. If you look at my channel, it's all boring and clear headlines. So boring and clear from the beginning all the way to now. It's just boring, clear headlines. How to, bop, bop, bop. I don't want to over teach here, but those are two kind of common mistakes I see out in these streets. Please don't use AI to script your YouTube videos. That's mistake number 3 that I really don't want you to do. Why we don't use AI to write our thumbnails, and why we don't use AI to write our headlines, and why we don't use AI to write our scripts, for crying out loud. It's the worst thing you could possibly do in this trust recession. Partly because with the copywriting stuff, let's say that you want to elicit a certain feeling with your headline. That's kind of the whole point of a headline. If you want to elicit a certain feeling with your headline, you know what feeling you're trying to elicit with your video. And many business owners are abdicating responsibility for their life's work using ChatGPT and Claude to be like, I don't know, tell me what I don't know. Tell me how I want the people to feel. AI and Claude don't know how you want your people to feel. So many people are creating videos that are beautiful. Most of the business owners who come to me, they do a great job on their videos, but then they're hiding it behind obscure headlines or headlines that they've used Claude to create. If you want to elicit a certain feeling from your viewer and make sure that they click on the thing and understand they should click on it, that's your responsibility. And only you will be able to do that. That's like an energetic packet that's going to be delivered to you because you're the creator of the thing. I know that sounds rather esoteric, but it's the truth. Copywriting is not something that AI is very good at because it's lacking in that emotional connection. Good copywriting is an emotional connection. If your copywriting lacks an emotional connection and it's not really hitting the right words that are a human to human kind, only a human knows exactly the itch that needs to be scratched with a headline. So don't use AI for writing your headlines. And the same thing with the script. So we as teachers and leaders, we're here to kind of get the energy from the divine beloved or from your muse, from your subconscious mind, whatever you want to call it. And in that kind of ideation process, thinking up the ideas, that's where the energy, you're receiving that energy and then you're metabolizing it and then you're getting it out and on pen and paper. It's not arbitrary. That process helps you to be in front of the camera and speak like an expert. It's not like the words on Claude or ChatGPT. It's not like the words that we're saying on the video matter all that much. It's the energy behind the words. And if you're abdicating the energy behind the words or the energy behind your courses and programs, the energy behind what you're doing, you're missing, you're letting go of that energy and it's missing something. And lots of people are doing that nowadays and they're wondering why nobody wants to watch the videos. So don't use AI for your life's work. Don't use it. Basically, that was 3 things where I was basically telling you, please don't use AI for the creative process. Especially for the ideation process, I really discourage it. And I know I sound like a curmudgeon when I talk about AI, but that's just, I just went over, I don't want to belabor the point. I just went over, why. So those are some ways that you can thrive in the trust recession era. I also wanted to let you know, in case you missed the last live stream, I have a brand new mini offering that's so fun and people are loving it right now. And it's called the YouTube Success Launchpad. So the YouTube Success Launchpad, I had this itch to create something to help you to get into the top 5% of your category on YouTube. And so I put this mini offering together. It's going to take you 90 minutes to complete. And it goes over a lot of my frameworks that involve starting your YouTube channel. So I have a training called the Advanced YouTube Position Hologram. And this is how you actually show up on YouTube. Your position on YouTube is actually so important. This is like, what are people thinking when they go to your channel? When you've heard the word position in the past, you might have thought that's like a fancy business jargon situation, but it's actually really important. Your position, you already have a position right now in here. So I know that you probably, as a business owner, you understand what it's like. Everybody who's watching this, you know what it's like that you're an expert in here. You know that you have an expertise and a skill set. You know you're really good at your thing, but you're just not yet sure how to like bring that out into the world in a way that people understand it. This is kind of the curse of the genius business owner brain. Ask me how I know. So after 16 years of doing this, I figured out basically there's a certain way that I like to show up on YouTube so that I'm not just a talking head, so that you can actually feel me in the room with you right now. And that's called being more of a hologram. And so I put that into this launch pad. I wanted all the people that are, in my crew, I want you to really shine on YouTube. And so I put this together for you. By the end of the training, you'll have your very own hologram. And this actually informs how you show up, what you talk about, what you don't talk about. What you don't talk about on YouTube is equally as important as what you do talk about. I'm also giving you the Instagram breakup playbook. So there's actually some templates in here that you can put up a static grid on YouTube or on Instagram so that when people go to your channel or your Instagram profile, they'll be met with like a static grid that just has a bunch of action steps. And then you set that like a welcome mat, and it actually has them taking action instead of like scrolling through your profile. And then you never have to post on there ever again. So that's the best breakup you'll ever have in your life. And then I also put together my magnetic grid system so that when people go to your grid, they'll actually stay on your YouTube channel. And also the peaceful planning method. So you'll learn how I create a successful YouTube channel with less than 2 days of filming per month. And so that's all at brendaturner.com/YTL. There's also some bonuses in there that are really fun. If you guys have any questions in the chat, I'm here for a couple more minutes and you can let me know if you have any questions. I'm always happy to answer, but I basically just wanted to give you some practicals. I'm going to close my the training part of this live stream with something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and that's less thinking, more action. Less thinking, more action. Those of us who are especially those of us who are the awake and aware business owners, there's so many people. I have hundreds of thousands of people subscribe to my YouTube channel, and 99% of those people are awake and aware in some capacity. And yet a lot of us are super cerebral. I'm one of these people. And what that means is we can get hyper analyzing on our business and on ourselves. So if you feel like you're trying to figure out something about you, figure out why your behaviors are something, like, for instance, I have a lot of business owners who are like, I don't understand why I have a fear of being seen, or why they get down into these psychological rabbit holes where they're trying to figure out why, certain blocks, or why do I feel fear when I'm putting on the camera? Why do I feel this and that? Like, I'm here for all of that stuff. I think it's really important to be introspective. And also, my invitation to you as your coach, I'm going to invite you to ignore the thinking for just the next 30 days and embrace massive, mediocre action, which I've talked about many times on this channel. Massive, mediocre action is something one of my teachers, named Eileen Wilder, she really honed that in for me, because sometimes I can get stuck in the hyper analyzing brain as well. It feels so good. It's like one of my all-time favorite hobbies is to sit and think about things and kind of introspect and explore my inner world. And it's kind of how I survived my whole childhood, is just being in my own little world and thinking about things all the time. But when it comes to business, if you want to triple your revenue, massive mediocre action. The mediocre action. My very first live event, so mediocre, but it was so good. So mediocre. And it was like magic at the same time. Massive mediocre action. Your mediocre offerings, they're not mediocre really, but they'll feel mediocre to you because you and I, we're perfectionists. We want to get things perfect. And so just let yourself do the massive mediocre action. More action, less thinking is how you also thrive in the trust recession era. While everyone else is kind of thinking about why is it this and why is it that, and let's complain and all the thinking, more action, just always leaning into action. Take a little bit of time every day to take even just a little action. I promise you, it makes such a huge difference in your profits. You can even plot chart that as well. Okay. So I hope this has been helpful. And let me just check in on the chat to see if there's any chat. Mediocre action is a great way to put it. Yeah, it is. It's really freeing to the ego, because all of us are in business because we're, called to create great things. And yet there's like the dichotomy of, in order to create great things, you have to be willing to do it a little bit imperfect in the beginning. So I've caught the egos keeping me stuck in those loops of I need to figure out why versus action lately, leaning into action on my channel too. Thanks to your manifestation video. Thank you, Brenda. I'm so glad to hear that. That's awesome. Yeah, that manifestation video, that was more of a war cry, because I live in Austin and talk about, and I love Austin and I love my friends here in Austin, but talk about overthinking. we have groups here that we have like meetups where it's just all about like, let's talk about things. And I think that's great. I think it's amazing. There's talking circles and all kinds of stuff where people explore their problems and everything. But when it comes to business and revenue and profits, action is really important to me. It's actually a sacred devotion. The massive mediocre action will solve almost every inner problem that we have. Also, you got an ego block. There's nothing to unblock your ego like taking massive mediocre action. Debbie says, I'm moving away from my excellence and into my genius. I've been in my own world and embraced mediocre action that will expand. I'm trusting. Awesome, Debbie. That's beautiful. I love hearing that. Let's see here. Mediocre action is a great way to put it. Love the trust recession term. Partner that with enshittification of everything. People are tired of feeling scammed. Yes. Thank you, Josh. Yeah, Josh, I agree. When I say the sunrise era, I also mean like the sanity era. Yeah, I think all of us, because we as business owners, we are also consumers. So all of us have been customers as well. And so we can actually like look to ourselves to see what is the buyer behavior about? Like maybe it's not a trust recession. Maybe people are just becoming more discerning. So, Ray says, curmudgeon away. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. I feel like I'm in a safe space. One of the few things I still use AI for is basic research. And it seems to be getting worse at that every day. Okay. When I talk about AI, everybody, whenever I talk about my feelings on AI, every time I talk about it, I know that there's always going to be somebody who tells me some amazing way that they are using it. So I'm not discounting AI as like, I'm not throwing the whole thing out. And I'm not saying that there's not probably really great uses for it. There's like some spreadsheet people that are actually clients of mine who are like, I actually really like it for spreadsheet stuff and all of that. And so use it in whatever way feels right for you. You know what's best for you always. So if anything I say about AI or anything else doesn't ever fit, like please listen to yourself and your heart. You might find that AI is like a great partner in your creative process. What are your thoughts on LinkedIn? Okay, so I'm not on LinkedIn. I'm not going to say that it doesn't work, because we can see that there's lots and lots of people posting there. I know of a business, a marketing expert who uses LinkedIn an awful lot. And he's actually the host of a podcast called Do This, Not That. Um, but I will say this, most of my clients who I actually had a client last year at the end of the year who specifically said, and she's not the first person to say this, that once she started doing YouTube, that her list tripled within like 2 days faster than it did with like 3 years of posting to LinkedIn. So I just feel like the LinkedIn crowd, it could be really important for your business depending on what sector you're in. Like if you're a lawyer, if you're a lawyer, especially one that specializes in like trademark law or something like that, LinkedIn is probably a nice place to hang out. I just don't know that there's anything that really tops an effective, well-made YouTube video. That's just kind of where I'm at with it. And also really quick, for anybody who might be asking similar questions about what about LinkedIn? What about Facebook? What about this? What about that? There's no one best answer. Here's what I want to also offer in terms of how I triple my revenue and how I always really, if I want to grow my revenue, what I do is I look at what's really working and then I do more of what's really working. And so for instance, if LinkedIn is working for you, keep doing it. But most people who are posting to LinkedIn, it's not really working all that well. And so I'd say run an experiment. If you're not really happy with the results that you're getting on a certain thing, run an experiment. Say, okay, I'm going to actually try YouTube, for instance, and then go all in on YouTube for a little while and see which one is better. Let's see here. Instagram drives me crazy for all the reasons you were saying. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. This is literally a great idea. I get stressed posting IG and TikTok. I'm going to try this. Okay, great. I use notes to put down every insight that I have in my daily routine. That's awesome. I use notes to put it down every insight I have in my daily routine. That's great. Awesome. Let's see. I love that. It's a wealthy life. Perfection is the enemy of progress and good enough is good enough. I told myself that when I posted a very, very mediocre short yesterday. Great job, Crystal. I'm really proud of you for posting just whatever is in your heart to post. Everybody, just let's just follow the massive mediocre action. Oh, here we go. Here's a question. Would it be a good idea to do a free live talk meditation on YouTube with my horses to share the love and attract soul viewers? I have around 70 videos, but very few viewers, and I'm devoting to YouTube now. Okay, so that's a really good question. I would want to see, I wonder, hey, let go and know. I wonder if it would be okay if I check out your channel live, let go and know. I might just take a quick look at it really quick. Let go and know. Let go and know. Yeah, I think just taking a quick look at your channel, I think it couldn't hurt. I think it might be a wonderful idea to, here's another thing about the trust recession and how to thrive in this online business economy in the new sunrise era that I'm inviting everyone to. So here's how I approach that. How I would approach that and how I approach all my inspired ideas, everybody. So when I say more action, less thinking, oh my goodness. I know that this is going to sound, it might sound a little bit like simplistic and it might be like, yikes, it doesn't really work like that for me. The ego does this. But when I say less thinking, more action, I also mean about ideas as well. So there's a bunch of ideas that I'm actually not sure about in this notebook that I when I was like, here's my plan for season 1 of the YouTube, my YouTube channel, my new videos. I don't know which one of those are going to work, but I just kind of go with what are the ideas that are really inspired, that really would serve my viewer, that I'm pretty sure would make my heart sing. And then I go with it. So we don't really know how anything is going to go. We really don't. I couldn't tell you how any of my videos are going to do until I post them. Nobody can really. You can have kind of an idea of, like this one's probably not going to get 500,000 views or whatever, but you just never know really. And so my advice to everybody here is when you get an idea like that one, where it's like, should I film with my horses and talk about, healing and spirituality with my horses in the video? I think that sometimes you're given those ideas because they're yours and yours alone. And it's kind of your job is to be a shepherd of the idea. And so nobody in the world could do that video except for the person who just asked it. especially not the way that you're talking about it. And so I believe we're given these ideas because we're meant to like take good care of them and take them into the world. So I'd say go for it. And also when you're doing those kinds of ideas, I really find that when I'm doing those like one-off, let's see how it goes kind of ideas, I'm really detached from the outcomes. So it's more just like an exploration and that creative kind of openness of like, I wonder what happened, how I would enjoy the situation or what this would do for my inner world and what kind of experiences might this open up or whatever. So that's how I would approach it. Yeah, yeah. An idiot emotion goes further than a genius standing still. I love that. I love that. Um, and I finally slowed down to 2 videos per week and niched down to 3D printing, and the mediocre 3D printing videos worked. I have 10 going viral now. Niche down is the key. Yeah, I love that. That's congratulations on your success. And I also want to mention that when it comes to the niche situation, I'm really glad that that particular situation worked so well for you. And also, when I hear the word niche, when most business owners come to me and they're like, the niche can really be helpful for certain business owners. It really can, and it sounds like that is the case right here. But I also want to invite, if any of the business owners who are watching this are struggling with the niche, you're really struggling with the niche and you're like, I don't know what niche to pick. I don't know what niche to pick. I want to invite you to think in terms of solutions over a niche. Really, really solid solutions that you know like the back of your hand. So when you have a solution to a problem, your videos are basically little tiny movies that are also like, they're entertaining, but they're also solutions to people's problems. That's why you're a great business owner and an expert in your thing. So you're going to just create a series of videos that offer solutions. And then you don't have to worry so much about the specific niche. But and what I think I'll close it with, this is a great way to close it. My YouTube Success Launchpad will definitely help you. Another reason I created it was because I was getting kind of sick. As much as I love serving all my business owner audience, I was getting a little bit sick of answering the same questions over and over again. And I feel so called to help everybody. And so I was answering the same questions over and over again, especially the niche question comes up constantly. So if you're at all struggling with the niche situation, this is another reason I did the YouTube Success Launchpad. So now I can just tell people, just take my Success Launchpad and then I'll walk you through the process. And one last time, that's brendaturner.com/YTL. Okay, everybody. It was really great being with you today. I'm so appreciative of those of you who contribute to the conversation. It's so lovely to be with you. And I can't wait to hear about your success in the coming sunrise era. Let's all keep our mind focused ever onwards and upwards. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye, everybody.